You had the conversation, the contribution from the CS for MITI, that is Moses Kuria. He's comparing Kenya to Singapore. Let us just contextualize what this means. Singapore, for instance, the geographical size is 710 square kilometers. Kenya is 582,000 square kilometers. So if you have to compare the size, Singapore is close to the city of Nairobi, Nairobi City County. In terms of population, this is how they compare. In Singapore, there are 5.4 million people, according to the numbers in 2022. Nairobi, based on the current estimates from the Economic Survey 2023, it talks about 4.7 million people by day, the population of Nairobi. Kenya, 51 million is the estimate, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. So you see that difference in terms of the geographical size and the population. But back to here with our experts, Honorable Billow Kerrow, a former senator, of course, even was a shadow minister in matters finance during the Moi regime. When you listen to all these conversations, saying the people in Kisumu saying we have not been informed enough, the contributions from the government representatives are saying that this is a special fund, it is not part of consolidated fund. This is not a tax, this is a patriotism expression to support those at the bottom of the pyramid. What is the right thing to do? And especially now that you're still waiting for the report to be tabled, what is the right thing to do for Parliament at this point in time?
The right thing to do for the government right now is to withdraw that bill, the finance, that provision for the housing fund in the finance bill. And for all the reasons that have been given, because this fund, there's no clarity exactly what is this fund. It depends on whom you listen to in government. It is a patriotism story, it is a housing story, it is an employment creation. It sounds, the more you listen to it, is an investors coming in. The more you listen to it, you start getting worried. It is a Ponzi scheme. Because where is the investor? There's no investor in this thing. We are putting our money, 9 billion a month. And your government is getting a contractor to put up the house. The government is providing the land. Where is the investor coming in? I think the issue for this government, the challenge we have in this country is that there is one of about priorities. If this in fact is a priority, which is not, and people talked about jobs and food security and many other issues, but if it was, what the government needed to have done is to have the actual procedure for doing this kind of thing. You do policy first, you do legislation, then you come to execution of the fund. That is the procedure. What I see is putting the horse, the cart before the horse. You're asking us, bring the money. Once we start collecting the money, after the bill passes, then we start doing the law. I mean, you guys can then give your views. I think it's a very wrong thing. And I think the point really many Kenyans have raised is this. True, we are entitled to housing, but the government has a mandate. Mm-hmm. The government is not short of money. You collect 3.6 trillion expenditure. You have that's what Ndidi Nyoro said, 3.6 trillion. You cannot spend 100 billion to house Kenyans whom you say are vulnerable. Is that a challenge? You are able, so what I think for me, if you ask me what the government needs to do after withdrawing that bill, create a conducive environment for investors to do the work. Housing should not be a responsibility of government, in my view. If at all the government wants to do something about houses, provide a cheap mortgage. You have done it in the Hustlers Fund. Provide it. Provide a guarantee to the financial institutions, and complement, so that you can give a cheap mortgage. The same way when we started Agricultural Finance Corporation, you remember the AFC, that bank. We had banks that have been started by government, right, to assist in this kind of things. Start a fund. I mean, the government can assist in that kind of situation where they can assist on the mortgage, those who cannot afford. But I think for the government to start looking for a contractor, take our money, build houses, there is a trust deficit in this country about government. No one trusts the government of the Republic of Kenya with their money. Forget about our fund money, which they're going to deduct from me and from you. Nobody trusts them with the tax 3.6 trillion that they collect. They have gone on record as government officials and said a third of this money is stolen. This particular government, their leader, their chair of their Council of Economic Advisors on record that corruption is not on their platform. I mean, what are you telling Kenyans?
Okay.
I give you my money,
Even though, Honorable Kerrow, the tax collected is just over 2 trillion shillings, not exactly 3.6.
No, the expenditure is 3.6 trillion.
Yes, the expenditure